Welcome back. Love Boat Project, episode 11. I am Mike Taylor. This is my co-host, Mike Ho 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 Robertson.
Happy birthday.
Oh, very nice. That brings it back. I remember that. How are you, sir?
Good. I am excited because we got a holiday episode. I feel like the boat has traveled outside of the linear time and dimension, and now we know the date. We know the exact date for probably one of the worst ways you could spend a holiday on a cruise with these clowns. So
I can't imagine going on for Christmas. For that specific holiday, I cannot. Maybe other holidays, but especially Christmas. I don't know.
I guess there's like a target, right? It would probably be like young people without kids,
or divorcees,
angry loners,
kids.
right?
Like, yeah.
But they didn't necessarily highlight who the hell would take a cruise,
right,
on Christmas.
Well,
it was more about
they did highlight
meaning of working on it.
Apparently, it's a shady guy who's. Come on, I mean, they're like, it writes itself.
I will say this: it doesn't bode well for This is clearly like when you see exhibition football and everybody gives away their tickets. This is kind of what it feels like for the Christmas cruise.
I kind of feel like that too, and I noticed like Kathy Lee Gifford when she used to do the songs for Carnival Cruise Line,
yeah.
She never mentioned some of the subjects that happened on this particular cruise during a Christmas cruise line. I just think it's interesting. Like, I don't know how you sell a Christmas cruise, but
if you could see me now with 6 orphans and an embezzler,
and a man with a gun. So, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? It's a joke. It's like, it's interesting. I do have a soft spot for holiday episodes of shows, whether that's a sitcom or I just love that. I really do.
It's one of those things that I feel like in the era of streaming and binging and things like that, you lose out on it because even if they do a holiday episode, if you're watching it in June, you don't get that nostalgia. It's like when I lived in Florida for that year, and it's like Christmas is weird when it's hot. It's like, so
it is.
It's not necessarily cold yet, but at least in theory, when this aired, it was December. It was cold. It was. That's how it worked. Everybody would go. That's why I was so surprised we didn't get a holiday episode prior to this. We just had Thanksgiving. Halloween seems like a spooky cruise. I'm sure that'll happen eventually. But
I wonder if they had only made I wonder how this works. Like, say for a show like this, like were they? I wonder if they were signed to like 20 episodes for a season, or did they film the ones prior to maybe this one and the one before where it didn't have a time and place?
Like, I mean, I feel
wonder
like
how that works.
Well, in a normal show, right? Like in a normal show, it seems like they basically film it 3 weeks before it airs. Like that was the old sitcom rule of thumb, I think.
Right.
But this thing, between having the 3 storylines, and even though you're not shooting it on a cruise ship, quote unquote, there's more location type things.
Right.
And I mean, the only thing we really have to go on is like Julie's Dorothy Hamill hair to see like if it's all lined up.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But I wonder if they measure it before she gets off, like takes a week's vacation. Like, no.
But there's definitely like episodes where we'll have a specific set, right? Like that weird outdoor entrance ramp. That's only in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
So does that mean they shot all those at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, so.
Like it wasn't linear necessarily. It was just scenes for different directions.
Right. Like shoot this, shoot that. So this one at least felt like, okay, this is the Christmas episode. 2 out of the 3.
2.
Well, no, they all had a touch of the Christmas in it by the end. They all had something Christmas related. Yeah, so
fair enough.
Stretching it, but they all had.
I mean, all right. So this is season 1, episode 11. Original air date of this episode is December 10th, 1977. Name of the episode is Lonely at the Top, Divorce Me Please, Silent Night. We have an update.
Okay.
What's on TV?
Ooh, something different.
CBS. There has been a change. No more Carol Burnett show.
Oh, no.
Not the competition anymore for whatever reason. They replaced it, at least this night, with an episode of Kojak.
Wow.
So I don't know what.
I wonder if that's
see next week.
Response? Is it a new episode of Kojak?
Well, we got to start looking at ratings.
Is it a holiday episode?
Where we are. It didn't appear like it was just a standard.
I mean, I think I happened to look this up the other day, kind of because Carol Burnett's been popping up. I think this is the last season for Carol.
Well, it's interesting to see what kind of numbers the Love Boat is doing.
Yeah.
Thereby, like, who goes in that slot for CBS? Does NBC stick with a movie?
I think that movie thing is a home run, just because it is so different. But I will be curious if the Carol Burnett show gets replaced by a nothing similar to the Love Boat, right? But like more of a non-comedy. Does the movie? The movie is still. But what if CBS goes with a movie?
I feel like in the early 80s, at least, maybe late 70s, ABC had like a something. They had like a son. Was that was
$1 million movie?
Like Disney, yeah. So there was a movie on that night, Mike, on NBC. The movie is called W.C. Fields and Me.
Oh,
let me tell you a little about this. In 1920s New York City, W.C. Fields, played by Rod Steiger. It's just
that's a good cast. That's good casting.
Yeah. Is a successful headlining entertainer, but when his girlfriend, Bernadette Peters, again, I mean, she's a person.
Bit of an age gap, I think.
A little bit. Leaves him and his broker loses his money. Fields begins anew in California while working at a wax museum. Fields eventually lands a film role that ascends him to stardom. Doesn't sound like a bad movie. Maybe a little boring.
I wonder if it's like the ham-fisted W.C. Fields, like W.C. Fields,
all caricature.
That's all I know.
Just please, Sarah, with the makeup department, we have to apply more red to your nose.
Right?
Like that sort of. Yeah.
You have to look like a New Yorker cartoon.
Exactly. Got to hang out with Andy Capp. That sort of. I didn't put this in the notes, but this is a very specific day in sports history. And I want to know if I give you, so something very famous happened today to the Houston Rockets.
Oh, is this the Rudy Tomjanovich fight?
The day that Rudy Tomjanovich went to the ER after that.
Ooh.
I don't know if
he was not watching Love Boat on this Saturday night.
Not tonight. Also, Sixers lose to the Pacers 114-108. Flyers beat the Blackhawks 4-2. Go Flyers.
On their way to the Cup.
So I'm ready to get into the episode. Anything to go over before we get started?
So one note, I've focused not enough to actually write down their names, but there have been two writers for storylines that we've very much enjoyed. They're the people that did the murder episode storyline from episode 5, and a couple other ones that we've enjoyed. They actually were on this one. They did Silent Night, which we can have our qualms with, but probably was the best written of the three storylines in this one. So I always like to shout out our guys. I think it's like Al something, and there's another name.
Interesting.
Not their best work, but
it was something very different.
I know what they were going for, and I know we'll get into it, but it had a very radio drama element to it.
Yeah.
Which isn't exactly a compliment, but that's kind of what it felt like. So,
but I think you can make it work too. It was just weird. It's kind of hard to develop a story. Like, okay, we're basically going to give you like 4 scenes.
Yeah.
Developing. Like, what?
Well, we had to get back to
Interesting.
that Florence Henderson stuff. So
I forgot about her. Actually, let's talk about who's on the. Actually, let me give you the summary, and then we'll go through the guest stars. Episode summary: A priest travels with 6 orphans. A couple pretends to be compatible. A wrongly convicted man meets the person he holds responsible.
also, it's Christmas.
And it's also Christmas.
I'm not just dressed like this.
And Chris, it's not just
I'm
a
not just
cool
dressed like
hat,
this.
ladies
I'm
and
insane,
gentlemen.
right? Yeah, it's a Christmas episode.
So let's talk about the guest stars. First, I have listed as Donna Mills. Crazy TV appearances. Knots Landing from 80 to 89.
So our second Knots Landing person,
Yeah.
after Michelle Lee,
Mm-hmm.
I looked her up today because I was like, Donna Mills. I've always been aware of Donna Mills. I feel like she was from that time where you were just aware of TV stars, even though, as we've discussed, neither of us has ever watched Knots Landing. Turns out she also was on Melrose Place for a brief arc. She was Jane. She was Jane's
mom.
biological mother.
They love to bring back the older.
They knew what they were doing. Well, it's Aaron Spelling.
Aaron Spelling.
Yeah.
Genius.
But you're right. It is crazy when you look at anybody in this episode, their TV credits from the 70s. It's just, you could make a career just popping up on oneers of every show on television.
I just wonder after a while if they just kind of know who they want to work with, but it's just a matter of rotating the people so they're not on every episode. So it's just
or like they're not on against each other the same night or something like that. Yeah.
This is the most interesting guest star of the week, if I had to give an award for that. His name is John Gavin. Or is that his name?
Oh.
It's not his name, Mike. John Gavin, he was born Juan Vincent Apablasa. Yes.
Good
of a well-to-do Mexican family living in California. Just to tell you a little something about here, John Gavin. So ridiculous. 3 interesting facts about John Gavin.
Well, that's
Number
more
1,
than his acting.
It's more than his acting. That's right.
Acting,
He, number 1, was the president of the Screen Actors Guild from 71 to 73.
Wow. That's impressive. That's a big deal.
He was the U.S. ambassador to Mexico from 81 to 86.
What?
Ronald Reagan. Maybe they were friends, act.
So they knew each other.
That's not even the coolest fact. I'm saving the best for last. I had no idea. Gavin was signed for the role of James Bond in the film Diamonds Are Forever in 1971 after George Lazenby left the role. Signed. However, David Picker, who was the head of United Artists, wanted the box office assurance of Sean Connery. Gavin's contract was honored despite losing the role to Connery. In addition, according to Roger Moore's James Bond diary, Gavin was slated to play Bond in Live and Let Die in 1973. But Harry Saltzman insisted on a British actor for the role, and Roger Moore was given the part. And that was it for Juan Vincent Apablasa playing James Bond.
Now,
yeah. I mean, you have to do an English accent, I would imagine.
Right. That just feels like...
He didn't look like James Bond. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't get a James Bond vibe.
No, he's almost like too tall, dark, and handsome to be James Bond.
Yeah.
But also, like, that British thing, there's no way they were going to bail on that in 1971.
No. Why would you bail on it? Well, here's the weird thing is if you didn't bail on it in 71, why would you even think about going for it in 73?
Well, I feel like Connery trumps all. That makes sense. But then
so you're saying you're a Connery James Bond person.
I just think Connery is an established star by then, right? He was in all the original Bonds. That makes sense. That makes sense. Now he's probably incredibly difficult.
Well, these people
But it is
become
weird to have
bigger than
basically two different reasons not to fulfill this guy's contract.
right,
So,
right. Imagine how bad this guy wanted to be James Bond.
I don't
So close
think
twice.
I have not seen enough James Bonds to have a like definitive opinion, but based on what I saw in this episode, I don't think that guy could have been James Bond.
I love James Bond movies. I've seen every James Bond. I love James Bond movies, and no,
Yeah.
it didn't. Like you said, it didn't have James Bond energy. That's not who James Bond is.
No, and really, even though it was a weird part, there would have been opportunity to showcase something that maybe would have been a little Bondy.
Something, especially coming off the 2 Bond denials. It's 77. It's 4 years later. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna say that what's his name? Dan Barton didn't have the range to be 007.
No. I agree.
Like 0012.
00 nothing.
Yeah, 00 not getting this role. So here's the thing. 2 episodes ago, we had an actor named James Bond III, and this
That's
guy
right.
couldn't even get in James Bond.
Sad. Next person on this was a Dean Santoro who plays Walter Perry. I couldn't find much of anything on him, but I
will say he was another one of the fine guys that we ran into. Another one of those episodes with a little bit of age stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was only like 40 in this episode.
That's so weird.
And brother, it's not like he looked like haggard, but 40 in 1978
years older.
for Walter Perry. Maybe it's the lying. Maybe the lying got to him.
The life of guilt and
right.
3 years.
Yeah. Wait till they see what you do in white collar prison, Walter Perry.
Sure, sir. I have a whole theory. I have a whole mythology on what happened to this guy. Next person on the list is Dick Sargent as Father Mike. He's the second Darren on Bewitched. Crickets.
It's funny growing up.
Don't know much else about him.
Growing up, Bewitched was like just on as reruns all the time.
Always on.
But no concept of, and maybe they just like mixed up the episodes. So like I definitely can picture the other. I can picture the other Darren, right? Like I know. Yeah.
They weren't that.
But I couldn't tell you.
They weren't super different looking.
I was gonna say, couldn't tell you who was better. If there was like a better, if they literally were the same guy, no idea. So,
I just think about it. I mean, for a while that show was black and white.
Yes,
that's the only way I could like think. But I don't know.
I will say this: spoiler: Dick Sargent was excellent in this episode.
Oh, he's great. Dick Sargent's
excellent.
Great. And last but certainly not least,
not excellent in this episode. It doesn't matter which person you pick. So.
Actually, not last. Florence Henderson as Audrey Baines. How many we at now?
3.
Third. She's third.
3. So I gotta think. You gotta think Barry Williams is next. Probably.
Yeah, I would.
Unless they do like a kids. Like I actually have no concept of how old the other people are, but
what about
I feel like it's Barry Williams, or does Ann B. Davis get on the boat?
Mel, the butcher.
Mel from Mel's Diner. He wasn't
not
on.
Mel. Was it Sal the butcher? Or who was she dating? I can't remember his name. I know he was a butcher though.
George Glass.
George Glass.
So yeah, but this is our third Brady Bunch, and they are the clear leaders now. As far as people, I think, do we even have a 2? MASH. We have 2 for MASH.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think the Bradys might hit a peak here pretty soon. I don't think we're getting all 9 boxes of the Bradys on this boat.
I had just a thought the other day. I feel like we're going to get an Estrada. Like really soon, just Eric Estrada is going to stop by.
Are we in Chip's era yet?
It's got to be. It's 77. Like we're.
I mean, he's on this thing at some point.
Right. He's
no doubt. I guess the question is, does he come in pre-Chips? Does he come in the peak of Chips?
Yeah.
Or is
probably
he
pre-Chips, I bet. No,
or is he like the boat? Is he like the boat photographer in season 8, like post-Chips? So Eric Estrada was the Grand Marshal of the Wheeling, West Virginia Christmas Parade a couple years ago. So things have not gone great for Eric Estrada.
Wow. Tito Santana's
Read
a
that.
gym teacher in New Jersey. I knew that. A buddy of mine told me that. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah.
There you go.
Stop by and yell Reba real quick and get out of there. Florence Henderson, the interesting thing. I thought this was interesting. So obviously her most widely recognized role was Carol Brady. Interesting fact. Florence Henderson's best friend, her name was Shirley Jones, turned down that role. Yeah. She turned down that role, and then the next year she accepted a similar role with 5 children. The Partridge Family, 70 to 74.
But they were all her kids, right? Partridge Family?
Were they orphans? Because you had Danny Bonaducci with red hair. Like, none of them, Susan Day.
I actually don't think they were orphans. But there was no Mr. Partridge, right? Because Reuben Kincaid was the manager.
You're shady. Reuben Kincaid was nothing but
no.
I
don't know.
That's what I don't.
If we get a Partridge, we'll have to look this up.
I would love to know. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Shecky Green. He was known for his nightclub.
Have you ever seen him in anything?
That
name he's one of those guys that's a name that I know.
It's a name, but I don't know.
And I knew he was a comedian, but I don't know that I've ever actually seen him in anything or would have known that was him.
My note here is, like I said, I feel like his name is more famous than he is because I don't really know. I know the name.
Yeah.
But I have no idea. I didn't know who he was.
That couple
I knew who he was, but
that couple appears as their real names in my notes. They didn't. I did not even take the time. The Baineses. That's all I got.
No
but
point.
He is Shecky Green and will be referred to as such.
It says, he was a headliner in Vegas in the 50s and the 60s. He was a comedian.
Yeah,
but
he clearly never got. And listen, maybe I know him from like all those old Vegas stories or like Carson stuff and all.
Right.
There's not like a Shecky Green project that I'm aware of that I ever saw him in or anything.
He looks a lot like Danny Aiello. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the other thing too. He's not what I assumed Shecky Green looked like.
I didn't think Shecky Green would be a larger man like that.
Yes.
In my mind, I just didn't see that happening.
And honestly, I think this is maybe the worst storyline we've had in 11 episodes.
Terrible. It is.
But he wasn't.
Well, the dog is the worst.
He wasn't.
No, he wasn't bad. It was just
awful.
Let's do this. Let's get on the boat. We find out some information about Julie. Julie's talking to Gopher, Isaac, and Doc about how homesick she is for
Oregon.
Snowy Oregon.
Which, I guess if you're going for neutral accent, Oregon's great. I don't know where I would have guessed Julie was from.
I don't know, because she, with that haircut?
Yeah, but she's been in Los Angeles for a while.
See, that's the thing I was going to ask about. Because she says that this will be the first Christmas she's spending without her family. So are we to think that this is her first go around on this ship? Like she's supposed to be brand new too?
So I think they mention later that it's like a Monday, right? Is like the last day of the cruise. I think this is a much shorter cruise. Like this is not a 10-dayer. This is probably like Christmas is on Sunday and you get on the boat Thursday and you're back Monday or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because what are you going to stop somewhere? Everyone's celebrating Christmas.
I mean, I guess they stop somewhere, but they don't really ever mention that they stop anywhere.
Not in this one, no. And they usually bring that up.
The only other thing with Julie was an airline stewardess,
right, in Paris
before this.
Remember? Yeah.
And she was out gallivanting with Buddy, what's his name? So,
but remember, he set her up with a place to live.
Well,
remember? So I'm like,
I guess Los Angeles to Oregon's not that far, though.
No, it's not far. It was just an interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised. But again, we don't even know how old Julie is.
No. Interesting. So a little more info about our friend Julie. Doc describes his Christmas tradition, which is just, I I love this character. It just gets better. He likes to go to Vegas and get treated to a turkey dinner by his ex-wives.
Right.
Plural?
Oh, yeah. I got the
How does
impression that all 4 ex-wives are
prepare?
friends.
Oh, and they all do it together.
Yeah.
Or does he have 4 separate? Because he likes them larger. Does he go
I
to
think
4
no.
separate?
I think it's a club, which
It's like
pre-internet is
potluck.
amazing that all these women got to know each other. Unless, and
They
we'll
all
find
live
out
in
eventually,
Vegas. They all work in the same casino in Vegas,
or
probably.
something like, or they're 4 sisters. Like it's like Doc. Maybe Doc didn't cast a wide net for his wives, but
Incredibly specific.
I mean, it made me. I would say
I laughed.
top 3 thing I'm excited about for the run of this show. At the very top of that list is meeting all of Doc's ex-wives.
God,
The casting of this has to be perfect, and I am refusing to look ahead in IMDb. I want to be surprised when we get to them at each and every one of them.
I'm just wondering if there's an appropriate star of the time.
Well, the question I think really becomes: do you go 4 completely different people? Do you go 4 of same people? It's like you can go a lot of different ways. But this was exciting. This was exciting to hear.
I like when we get a little glimpse into the strange and always interesting life of Doc.
Yes.
Gopher starts talking about his family traditions, and here comes Captain Stubing. He tells the crew that Christmas is just another day. They should go back to work. I want to say that there's something it bothers me a bit about how they portray him. They always paint him in these broad strokes on his character.
Yes.
Like, of course he's going to be you know what I mean? It's always got to be these, and I don't know if it's the acting or the writing, but I feel like everything is presented as a much bigger deal, either intentionally or unintentionally.
I think it also goes back to what we talked about a couple times, because this really almost felt like episode 1 Stubing.
It did. It wasn't the same guy.
And it's just so inconsistent, not just his character, but the staff's interaction. The staff for most of this episode treats him not with fear,
which they've done, bit. Yeah,
but kind of like the friend at lunch in school that you don't want to sit at your table.
Yeah,
it was very abrupt when you think about last week. They're all having fun in the kitchen, pitching in and stuff like that. It's their relationship. His relationship with the staff has been all over the place, as much as him as a character has been. And this kind of felt like almost a cheat because they were trying to get in some sort of Dickens stuff.
Or, I mean, this is just fallout from the Stubby incident. When he wouldn't let what's her name?
Upstairs, downstairs
sit
thing?
at the table. Yeah, maybe it's fallout. He's done some shady things since episode 1.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe this is like a natural thing to feel that way. But you're right. It's like a crapshoot. Like, okay, what's their relationship going to be like this week? Very weird.
If you took all the Stubing plots and scenes and just mixed them up in a bowl, this is what would happen.
Yeah, this is what happened.
It's not linear. He's not a linear character.
It's Stubing roulette every week. What are we going to get this week? Sometimes
in the same episode.
This is a perfect example of like the Gopher says how nice it would be if the captain and crew exchanged Christmas presents. Stubing reminds him about the ship's no present exchange rule, because that's
definitely a thing.
That's posted. Yeah. I think that's on most ships.
Yeah,
it says that.
Yeah. You can bring a gun, but you can't.
You can bring a gun. No present exchange to include no white elephant. Like none of that.
So, question.
Yes, sir.
Julie, when she's kind of doing the whole, obviously we're all kind of bummed out. It's Christmas and we're all here.
Your work.
He's like, as you know, my father and his wife live in Florida, which is not where they said they were.
Yes, they live in California.
And that's all the family I have. I'm divorced. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't we have a daughter character coming in here in the next couple years? Isn't that extra cast member that's coming up his daughter?
That's what. Yeah,
Right? Okay. So
you know
let's
what it's
see.
going to be.
Surprise.
Totally. And she just happens to apply for a job on this cruise ship. Well, who knows? We'll see what happens. But
But just we need to remember
let's
that.
note that. Let's
Yeah.
note that
This
he
can't
says he
be
has
one of those
no
things
family.
where Miss McCoy, my daughter is coming aboard and I'd like her to get a job. It can't be that. It has to be like they have
What?
to explain it.
Who is? So he didn't have children with Stacy, or did he have? He did not, right? That
I
was that
mean,
established?
unless he's lying, which he does lie a lot in this episode, so I guess
He
maybe he
does
could be
lie.
lying.
He's a
More to
mystery
come.
sometimes. More to
Yep.
come. Oh, I'm married, hoping to be soon ex-couple. The Baines. I was just so over this internal monologue. Like, I don't need this
Immediately.
in the show. This is not how this works.
It is
It wasn't
it is a
funny.
horrendous
It was
plot
annoying.
device.
Why would you think it's okay to do this? Like, you just isn't. You don't. This
And you're leaving these
no.
poor actors out to dry because these are like long phrases that they're saying in their head.
One of the phrases, "I'd rather be in a swamp with Idi Amin."
Topical.
Another one is, "If I didn't bring you, I'd have to kiss you goodbye." Like, it's these weird, like, shut up. Just I don't want to hear it.
And what's the I mean, this whole plot, strange credulity, but what is why are they on this cruise? Like, see, this is where that murder plot should have come back around.
Maybe
this is a couple
should have
that
been the
tried to
murder plot. Yeah. Well, but who would be trying to knock off who?
Both of them.
Oh, at the same time. Just comedy ensues. I think it'd be much better than this.
It's awful. And then
not even funny at all. Yeah.
So Julie and Gopher make a bet when they see these guys about if they're newlyweds or not, which great job, Julie. Like, you know, I wouldn't even have bet they were together.
Just right.
But while they're, you know, wagering on this and the inner monologues are starting, 40 passengers walk by Gopher and Julie. And sometimes they even say, have a good trip and stuff like that. But the Baineses feel the need to stop and basically check in. So once again, we have no understanding of
no consistency either.
Like, did those other people check in before they got to Julie and Gopher? Is there different lines? Is it like TSA where like you kind of pick lane 4?
Well, then it's like, then why are they even there?
Right.
Are you just dropping them in there just strictly to create an exchange?
Because I'm really starting to think now we could just hang these clipboards on the wall.
Well, there's no point.
Like cuts, like high school cuts.
I kind of compare, and again, I've never been on a cruise. You've never been on a cruise, but I kind of equate a cruise, right, to like a floating hotel.
Right.
If I'm checking in a room, I'm not looking for a guy or a girl with a clipboard in the hallway. I'm going to the desk that says, you know, like check-in desk, or
which is
there's got to be something marked. Like there's got to be this nondescript hallway where nothing's labeled. Go aft and go this way.
Yeah, because was this even in the stairway? No,
it was like in front. Yeah. It's just like, what? Why? And it's just mayhem. Just people walking everywhere. Like no one's checking in. They're upstairs everywhere. Like, who keeps track? Where's the security team? You know, did they lose another dog?
Yeah. Listen, security did a piss poor job. The security is getting worse on this boat. The last 2 weeks have been.
Is there there's nothing? You don't even, you can bring anything on this boat.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's the 70s. Here's what it is. Here we go. Lila Barton arrives on board with her haunted looking husband. He just looked like a ghoul. Just this stone face, who says that he feels like everyone's looking at him.
Because you're moping Moperson, dude.
Like, why did you come on a cruise? Like, and that he may as well wear a sign that reads ex-con. at this point, I'm like, wow, they're going to spoon feed us this guy's entire story in a matter of moments.
Yeah.
And yes, they did.
Yeah, like
What,
you're waiting for like a little bit of an orange jumpsuit to be under his suit jacket or something.
or one of those like ankle chains and those giant balls. Like he has to drag that on. But I don't think you could.
He's got the old timey stripe crime thing on.
They put him in the little thing, and he walks on in that little thing. Lila reminds him he's not a criminal. And here's the spoon feeding that just made me laugh. Rather, an innocent man who got a raw deal, serving 3 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And I'm like, wow, you're just
your TV guide.
Can you just draw a picture of that?
It's funny because if you put all those scenes back together, they literally, this is why I felt like a radio show, because it's literally like all of it. Like they give you every single piece. There's no vagary. There's no like
theater of the mind. That's what this is. Yeah, I just thought, I was like, wow, that's a lot of information very quickly.
I have a lot of thoughts about that plot line, but they at least slow rolled it a little bit until they just dumped all of it on you. So
I feel like this entire storyline could have happened within the first 5 minutes of the cruise. Meaning, it's right. Maybe, yeah, I'll go back to that. I'll go back. This whole storyline could have lasted literally 5 minutes.
Whole episode could have lasted pretty close to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
this isn't a very deep episode.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened on this thing. No. We learned the captain can't count. Like, there's just a lot of just stupid things. Lila says that he should do his best to turn that frown upside down. Focus on your fresh start. They check in with Gopher, who remarks that to Dan, his pasty white face.
Gopher, man, be careful.
He's what a D. He knows that man was incarcerated. Gopher's like, I know what institutionalized looks like.
Poor Gopher. I get it, but like Gopher, dude, there could be a lot of reasons why. Like maybe I have a skin disease, or maybe I was in prison for embezzlement. So.
Or maybe he kills Gopher right there. The episode's over and that's it. No more Gopher. Now
excuse me, Gopher.
Here comes Father Mike, the second Darren. He arrives with 6 boys from the orphanage to enjoy a Christmas cruise.
All right. Did you catch the names of the 6 boys?
I did.
All right. Mario,
okay.
Artie, Ben, Mitch, and then the 2 guys that actually have speaking roles, Peanut and Tony.
Peanut. Okay.
Peanut.
Wasn't Tony the one that didn't get the gift?
Yes.
Tony's the one.
Tony's got some chops. Yeah. Tony's acting as a little child or heart out.
He had that 70s, like tons of freckles sort of look. Like that was a big kid look.
Definitely failed at the Bad News Bears Engelbert audition.
Oh, I bet you he could sell Life cereal too. Like that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. He could be on the cover of Life, of the game. That dude was doing a lot. Introduces the kids to Julie. Captain Stubing wanders over and says, I hope they behave themselves. Again, these broad strokes, like it's all or nothing. Nothing subtle. Julie points out they're kids and that the point of them being on this cruise is to run around and have fun. Then tells him that some anonymous benefactor buys tickets each year for a group of orphans to enjoy the Christmas cruise, and no one has any idea who it is. Now,
question.
Yeah.
At this point, did you have even a thought that it was going to be anything?
Zero. Nothing.
Me either. Okay. Well, so I'll give them credit for that.
Long-term booking.
They didn't put a light on it at all. They blew right by it. Good for them. Didn't really make a difference. It wasn't like the greatest ending of all time, but like.
But I thought even when he said, he kind of grunted someone with more dollars than sense.
Yeah.
I just thought he was just selling the Scrooge character kind of thing.
No, exactly. Bah. I mean, basically, it's like when Jimmy couldn't say dynamite. It's like he couldn't say bah humbug, but basically.
Yeah.
Um, what I understand that you're an orphan, and I've been told it's a hard knock life for them. But is a cruise ship at Christmas
Right.
great? Is that like a primo win for you as an orphan? Put yourself in an orphan's shoe.
I got to be honest, Mike. Anything other than a new home to live in is a complete strikeout from the orphan's point of view. No matter what day it is, no matter what holiday, anything else is a complete strikeout, sir. There's no other comparison.
Why are these kids not going to the Theo playbook and banging on every door of this boat?
That's a good point.
Could you be my parents?
Yeah. I thought that was a little weird too. Like, we're gonna bring them on a
cruises.
Okay.
So what we've learned about cruises so far is there's a pool, but you never see them go in the pool.
Well, it's like 2 feet deep and very slippery.
They're trying to steal booze most of the time, which because they're orphans. But like, I don't know. That doesn't seem very fun to me. Also, when I used to go to the Franklin Institute with school trips, we had 3 or 4 chaperones. You're telling me Father Mike's doing this all by himself? That's too much responsibility for one man.
That's
even
too
if
much.
That one man walks with the Lord.
Right. And he used to be married to a witch. Either way.
That's true. That is true.
But I will say, kind of going back to what you said, I think you made a really good point about they floated that one past us about somebody's paying for the Christmas cruise.
Yeah.
I think it's odd to send orphans on a cruise any time of year. Maybe that money could be better spent on maybe trying to find them families. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just my thought, but I guess it's nice.
Also,
someone with more dollars and cents.
We'll get to it. Might as well do it now. So we're talking about it. Is this kind of like, hey, I'm a bartender. Come to my bar and I'll get you free drinks? Is Stubing actually shelling out the money for these rooms, or is he just like, this Christmas cruise never sells out? Come on the board. Like they're all in one room closet.
Well, how many people do we see this week? How many guests?
Oh, it's thin if you don't count the kids.
Well, if you think about it too, like how many people were on the cruise, something that bothered me, and we'll get to it as well, is wouldn't the captain address more than just these like 5 crew members? Aren't there hundreds and hundreds of crew members on board that maybe you'd get like, you know what I mean? Because there's it's weird.
Yes, I agree. And actually, we see a pretty healthy dining room staff this week.
Yeah.
What I will say is I'm going to give everything a little grain of salt because I do feel like this is a smaller cruise. Maybe it's a bit of a scaled down staff. I do think it's a shorter cruise.
I can buy that. I can get it. Yeah, I can get it.
Which is why everybody's so mad that they have to work it, I guess. This almost feels like, you know what it might be? Here you go. It's punishment. This is Stacy Stubing's husband designed this Christmas cruise this year as punishment. Not him. He didn't care. He agreed with Stubing. But this is Stacy Stubing working her puppet master strings behind the scenes. This way Stubing has to go on this thing. It's like a last minute thing.
Interesting. I like it. I like the whole lot going on.
It's all tied in. This is the most intricately plotted show of all time.
Lila, we're back to Lila and Dan. Lila asked Dan if he'd be more comfortable dining in their cabin. Again, why are you on the, like, it's not like I bet there's no way he just started acting like this now. Well, he's been in prison for 3 years.
He just got paroled last week.
Right. Like what do you,
well, here's the
you don't know what happened to him in prison?
Here's the thing. Everything eventually makes sense when you find out that it was clearly his idea to go on this cruise. But up until that point, you're 100% right. Because
what are you doing?
He's definitely not rehabilitated. Like, no. He should not be around people. You are at some level in a cage when you're on a cruise. You can't get out when you want. You're in a very small room with no windows. Like, this is terrible.
There are some
Also, you're
glaring
married to Donna
similarities.
Mills. That vengeance will be there next week. Stay home.
You'd think he'd be a little happy to see her or to hang out with her, or at least he would like sell the fact that he's there to enjoy the time with her instead of just turning into a complete psychopath for the, just staring off in the
Prison
I
changes a man,
would
like-
love to go out to dinner. Like, whoa.
Well, I mean, it's vengeance, right? It's a vengeance cruise. This is not.
It is a
love boat.
vengeance cruise. Oh, he
But
scribbled out
he's a
love
little-
and put vengeance.
I guess if you've literally spent 3 years memorizing the transcripts of the trial that put you in prison, that maybe it's hard to focus on anything else.
Also, why would you choose a cruise to try to make that happen? What about cruise says this is a great place to kill somebody?
It is
Why
a great
wouldn't you
place.
No, with a gun?
Yeah. Well, I guess he was going to throw him over the side.
Right, but you got a gun. Like you have would think the logical conclusion is that he's going to shoot the guy. Well, why would you get on a cruise to shoot a guy?
Because it's the perfect crime. No,
Yeah,
I
somebody's
actually
gonna-
agree with that. He ended up on the deck by
Right.
himself with the guy he wanted to kill. And everyone was busy half singing Christmas carols.
Well, if it wasn't for those damn Christmas carols,
Right.
He would have.
Right.
Okay. So let's.
But he
let's
could have
say,
easily killed him. He could have shot him.
Okay.
He could have pistol whipped him and thrown him over the side, and they never would have found Walter Perry. And you know
so you're
what?
saying
Ain't nobody looking for Walter Perry anyway.
my assumption was he's going to shoot the person, but you're saying a pistol whip probably would have been that way. There's no noise. The
Well, you
caroling
back 'em off.
continues.
You back him off the boat with it. It could be a million things. He got his attention regardless.
Interesting. I didn't even think of it. When I saw the guy, I'm like, well, how are you gonna make noise? I didn't think about the pistol whip.
And we always talk about like the wind and stuff on this boat. Like it might be hard to hear.
Yeah. Well, I
Now,
guess
I
you
will
could shoot
say-
him and then throw the gun. And you throw the pistol off
Right,
overboard
exactly.
with the guy
Right. There's a
because he was giant too. Like he could have thrown that guy
Right.
easily.
there's a bit of a Star Wars plan to all of this where things kind of work out in a way that he probably didn't expect. Like he literally just happened to find Walter Perry out on the deck by himself at the perfect time. That's a little strange. It wasn't like he was tailing him, right? He got him on the boat, but as we've talked about, it's a pretty big boat.
Well, because he was right. It's convenient that it all worked out this way and the timing.
Right.
Let's see. He says he's more than ready to be among people again. Gives her a kiss. He tells her he doesn't deserve her. And when she assures him everything's going to be A-okay, he points out that since he's an ex-con, he won't be able to practice law, and sort of talks about there's not going to be a lot of job opportunities for someone who served prison time for embezzlement. Radio, like it's all laid out
And-
now.
Probably the crime you could get away with, right? Like it couldn't be murder. It couldn't be burglary,
How do you only
like
do
a
3
classic
years?
burglary. You almost had to do something like white collar frame up to make it plausible, I guess.
Well,
I don't know what I thought his crime was going to be. So
now I have this whole other thing, right? If this other guy's the one that really did the crime, why would that guy go on a cruise? Why
The
would he
other guy?
spend money? Yeah, if the guy who really did it, who embezzled the money, why would you go? You wouldn't want to go on a cruise. You
why?
don't want to spend any money to show people you have extra money. That's
But
the
he's a
last
lawyer.
thing you want to do.
He's a
Yeah,
lawyer, and
that's
it's been
true.
3
That's
years.
true.
And
Yeah.
he has money because Dan Barton embezzled, and he was proven in a court of law despite his best efforts.
I see what you mean.
He's living his life.
I'm thinking of like Goodfellas, with the airport, the big job, and the dude, walks in with a fur coat, and they bought a new Cadillac and the whole.
But that was like the next week.
Yeah.
De Niro wouldn't have killed all those guys if they had waited 3 years to do that. So
Good point. I guess it's hard to connect the dots after 3 years have gone by.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So
I've stayed off a boat for 3 years. It's time to get back on a boat.
everyone's watching him.
Everybody's
He's finally
watching.
slipped.
Well, you're going on a Christmas cruise. A cheaper version of the same cruise. Guilty. Father Mike finds Captain Stubing leaning against the railings on one of the decks, staring out at the ocean. One of my favorite lines is coming up that he says, and it's so douchey, but it's great. Father Mike tells him that the kids are getting ready for dinner. How many orphans were there, Mike?
6.
Okay. And that he managed to sort out, whatever fights they were having. Stubing says he's good with kids. Then sadly adds that he, on the other hand, I think he's saying Father Mike is good with the kids, but he, on the other hand, he understands the sea.
Yeah.
But not people. I want Charlton Heston to play Captain Stubing in a recreation of this scene, just to really I know
it's like a really good scene.
Yeah,
it's like a nice piece of acting from both of them. It's probably a little more dramatic than Stubing deserves, for being a sad sack. But Father Mike calls him on his BS.
He does.
Now, here's the thing. It makes more sense later on when you find out that Stubing is essentially bankrolling this orphanage. So they have a relationship.
Right.
But he's not letting him off the hook. And he tries to help him out for kind of here's how you could be a human being,
interact with people.
Right. But I don't know that comparing Stubing's plight to Jesus is appropriate for a minister, but who am I to say?
Probably not.
No.
Stubing also admits to feeling very lonely this Christmas. Father Mike is sympathetic. It says that the holiday season can often isolate people more than usual. He asked if he has one friend amongst the crew. Captain Stubing says you can't be their friend and their boss.
See, this is where I get bummed out, and I think we kind of hit it last week. This is where I'm bummed out that him and Doc are not old Navy buddies, and he at least has Doc.
I wish it was like a Star Trek thing where William Shatner had, you know what I mean? Bones,
there's such an age difference between those two and the other three, and I just feel like it would give you some cover.
Like these two enjoy a glass of scotch together on the sly or something.
There's at least some sort of prequel to this for those guys, and they really seem to be going away from that. It felt like maybe they were going to hit it early, but between last week where he was like, has Doc ever delivered a baby? That's something you would know if you work with somebody for 20 years.
Well, that was the whole thing. You go back to that and you're like, well, geez.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no faith, meaning there's no history, or there's bad history.
Yeah. Because the thing is, he never tries to buddy up with Doc in this.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Interesting, because it does switch. And especially his character switches so much. They're and later on we'll see too is again these broad strokes with the character. It's got to be somebody donated crazy amount. It's just everything's got to be bigger to me than it should. But that's just my. Father Mike said, "Sure you can," basically, and says, take time to get to know them as people and insert yourself more in their lives, is what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, okay. But again, it goes back to that. Remember I said before, we talked about, in the Navy, there's always that separation.
Right.
Meaning, officers don't intermingle with that. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. In the dining room, Audrey and Paul toast each other while the voices, it's more the voices. It's just, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It wasn't going anywhere. They're not saying what the actual barrier was. And it's just like,
so how
long is this going to go on?
the only note I even have about most of these, like I almost skipped the inner monologue stuff because it just was so awful. But
it's terrible.
So Florence Henderson asks Shecky if he wants some wine, and he says, I can't stand the taste of alcohol. You know why these guys want to get divorced? Because I feel like your spouse should know when the other one literally can't stand the taste of alcohol. You don't ask that question at a meal. Like that is clearly something that's been established. It's not like I ask somebody I've met, do you want me to get you a drink when I go to the bar? It's, you want to ask your betrothed, would you like this thing you've told me a million times you hate?
Yeah, it'd be, my wife's not going to like, Mike, would you like a nice tall glass of tequila?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Want to do some shots? Yeah.
No, I don't, ma'am. But yeah, that was a little hard pass. Thank you. It's icky. Yeah, I just, again, it's one thing to be annoying. It's another thing to just like, to be something you can't suspend disbelief in this one because it's terrible. Lila suggests to Dan that that he call Walter Perry when they return home. She reminds him that Walter was his friend and law partner who defended him. Again, radio show. They're going to feed it to you. Defended him during the trial and was always good to her while he was in prison. Dan is such a good actor. You could see how upset he is just in his facial expressions. He says he needs to go above deck for some fresh air.
I was worried for a second that Walter Perry was checking in on Lila while Dan was in the clink.
I thought that might be it too. I thought that's the only reason I thought that came up.
Yeah.
Captain Stubing. Oh, this is a really awkward one too here. Runs into Isaac and attempts to bond with him. He said, quote, "Hey man, what's happening?" Isaac gives him a strange look, says he's on his way to the lounge. And the captain says, quote, "Well, I can dig that. I can dig that. You have to split. That's cool. I'll lay some words on you later." End quote. He asks Isaac to give him 5. And somehow Isaac, doesn't understand what's going on and returns his 5, but he's just very awkward.
This is the 11th episode we've done. There's been some stuff on this. It's 1977. This might be the most offensive thing I've seen on this show so far. This is awful. This is how Stubing thinks he has to bond with Isaac. This is awful.
Yeah, but like, when is Isaac? Isaac doesn't. What do you never met him before? He's acting like he's never met him before.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, hi, man of color." Like, oh, come on, Stubing.
Also, hey, Isaac, I don't know literally anything about you except for that Roxy Blue episode. Why don't you tell me literally anything about you?
Where are you from, Isaac?
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been a bartender?
Just, what's your favorite drink? Blah, 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 blah. Right. Something, but not.
No.
Hey, man, what's happening? Oh, fantastic. Dan spots Walter Perry. Here we go. Here we go. Walter Perry's asking Gopher to cash a traveler's check. I have a question on traveler's checks. I remember they were a thing. Was it essentially, why didn't people just carry cash? Why would you carry a traveler's check?
Maybe for fear of carrying around a lot of cash and you would lose it. Maybe there was more of a insurance.
No ATMs.
Security with a check. I have no idea. I remember it being
ATMs back then, right? No ATMs back then.
I mean, if there were, there definitely wasn't one on a boat.
They had a chain and pull start on that thing. They're so interesting.
Later it's established that he's a pretty big tipper, so he clearly was using the cash for that. Because, like we said, we're not even 100% sure if this cruise stops anywhere.
That's a good point.
But maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe it's a little money laundering.
There's a casino on board, I bet.
There is
Christmas gambling
slot machine, right?
After Walter saunters off, Dan stares at him, and just again this acting, just this I don't need words because I
Bond level acting.
Oh, 00, none. You got no Bond. Nope. 00, you're not English, sir. It's
He
the Audrey and Paul thing again with the inner voices, and they're wondering what the other one bought them for Christmas, and the inner voices are expressing their hatred for one another. And Audrey, her reaction to the sound of Paul's gargling, man noises, and she goes in there. She starts doing this singing in the freaking like. This is a good time to bring this up too. I can't stand the singing voice of Florence Henderson.
no,
It's really, it's like she's talking.
unnecessary.
And she always tries to work a song in somewhere.
That felt like a contract rider thing in
Oh.
this episode. Like she definitely was going to sing in this episode.
I want to sing a Christmas. Oh, come on.
And I feel like you can tell that they didn't want her to do it because she only got to sing like half of one.
She's a terrible voice, but she was always singing like, oh, nobody wants. Sorry, Florence Henderson, but nobody. I didn't want to hear you sing.
So, two things from this horrible scene. So when she's in the bathroom gargling, and then she comes out with a full like comedy makeup mask or whatever, she's in there for like 20 seconds. How the hell is she getting all that done?
Bowl.
Yeah, like
dips her face
plant, like Gopher in that cake a couple weeks ago.
Unless it was, stop playing
fresh
with
off
camera
the
tricks,
heels,
man.
Fresh off the heels of Stubing being incredibly offensive to Isaac, Florence Henderson's voiceover mentions the gift that her husband Shecky Green buys her every year, called a perfume called Oriental Wind, the only perfume that comes with a bowl of rice. What are we doing here? What are we doing? That is
I didn't even write it down because I didn't want to bring it up.
No, I'm going to say it. And here's the thing. You don't get to do it in a voiceover either. That's even
No, because that's cheap. That's weak.
Cheap. That is awful. I don't care what year it is. So we had back-to-back just inappropriate scenes, even for 1977. Bad job, whoever else wrote these other plots.
But here's the thing. It's not even... Obviously, it is the person that wrote it. If I'm Florence Henderson...
Yeah.
But I think my point is that apparently it wasn't a big deal.
No, it clearly wasn't. But it's not even funny.
No, it's not.
It's just
it was
none
so
of this
awkward. It was so awkward. I didn't even write in my notes because I was like, oh, I don't even want to.
No, it was terrible.
Just made me laugh that you brought that
And
up.
I will say this, considering the time and, 45 years ago and all that stuff, we haven't actually had a lot of that. To a surprising degree. There have not been a lot of cringy.
Is that an Aaron Spelling thing?
I don't know.
The oversight, or I wonder what that is.
It literally could be luck of the draw. I mean, there's two things in this episode within 5 minutes that are bad.
We'll see. I mean, how many we have left?
But I think I bumped on that almost as much because we haven't seen it.
Yeah. It is odd how, I think there's a difference between, the portrayal of, an Archie Bunker character on TV, where, that character in and of itself is that character. But, in here to sort of make, number one,
casual.
the captain of a ship. Right. Right. And it's just like
Archie Bunker.
So unnecessary.
Archie Bunker loses all the time. That's the point. Is his character is wrong all the time. Right? So you have these quote unquote lovable characters just doing this kind of stuff.
It makes him not lovable. The captain's so weird. His character's so weird.
Yeah.
That's he's in a competition of favorite crew member. Where is he? Stubing. As it stands right now. At
best, he's fourth. And that's only because Gopher has done nothing.
Yeah, I kind of put him right in that same
still have
area.
not had a Gopher story. That nonsense in the beginning of this episode about the Christmas traditions with his family.
It was a nothing.
But that's as much Gopher
That's what I'm
story as
saying.
we've gotten. We've gotten 3 or 4 Julie stories.
Yeah.
We've gotten 2 or 3 Docs. We've gotten 2 or 3 Stubings. We had an Isaac. We've got nothing with Gopher.
Interesting. Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe they want to ride out that whole comic, comic relief aspect.
We're halfway. We're
Make it
now
endearing too.
Next week we're basically halfway through the season.
That's
like
crazy.
The fact that you haven't hit the 5 cast members is weird.
You'd think you would at least make that a priority in the second half.
Look at Lost, right? Lost, right. They literally knocked everybody out. Bing, 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 bing. And there were like 15 cast members on that thing.
Right. Interesting. Let's see. Captain Stubing finds Julie working on some needlepoint. This was so stupid. Everything with him has to be broad strokes. Like everything is there's no subtlety.
Yeah.
And when she abruptly stops, obviously because she assumes she's going to get yelled at for whatever. But then why do they pick needlepoint? How old do they think Julie is? Number one, she's doing needlepoint outside. What?
Well, this is what I think really comes down to. This is a very sparse cruise. Like, I think the fact that we've never seen Julie do anything of leisure besides, follow one dude around.
Right.
So I think this is kind of oh man, it is so slow. It's you got time to lean, you got time to clean, but you're probably reading a magazine at the register.
Yeah.
It's so
interesting. It's funny. He asked her if she wouldn't mind teaching him how to stitch, and she's kind of like, huh? Gives him a demonstration, says, give it a try. Go get a kit and 2 of them can work on together. And Julie just she's a little weirded out. She just blurts out that needlepoint bores her stiff, tells him he's welcome to continue her project and flees.
And then does a face on the way out too.
What is that about?
This didn't feel earned. This should have been Gopher. Because
yes,
Julie and Stubing have more of a established rapport that we've seen. This was a jump that didn't feel appropriate.
It didn't feel authentic. No. It just didn't feel like it was not how they would interact either. It was just dumb.
If that was Gopher and he was whittling or something,
it was anything.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Right. I didn't like it either. Father Mike wanders over and tells Captain, he says, why are you spending time on needlepoint instead of getting to know the crew better like he suggested?
Zing.
Here we go. Lila and Dan encounter Walter Perry sitting at the end of one of the ship's bars when Dan approaches him. Walter Perry visibly goes pale and he's shocked to see him. Lila gives Walter a warm greeting, starts chatting nervously about a hair appointment he'd made. Yeah, he didn't have a whole lot of hair to have an appointment for.
Boat for 2 days.
Everyone gets their hair cut right around dinner time, too.
Right.
Ooh, I gotta go.
Look good for Christmas. I'm by myself.
He scurries off. Lila remarks on his, says he was acting strangely. Dan says he is strange. And then says, which is he says he's 100% convinced that he was the one that kind of screwed him over and let him go to prison for a crime he committed. And Lila's just, there's not much. It's just oh, great. What? Thank you for your support.
But he does the thing where he's I memorized the transcript and all that stuff, but I wasn't sure until now. I'm why? Because he needed a haircut?
So you weren't 100% sure.
You had to see him up front.
While you brought the gun.
But you brought the gun, right?
But just in case you were sure later.
Right.
Fair enough. I like this being proactive, I guess.
You got to plan for everything.
Audrey is in the shop's boutique talking to the sales girl about the cost of different items. There's Doc. He says on how refreshing it is for a woman to be concerned about finances. So his exes live in Vegas and they've all ruined him financially. So the least they can do is invite him over for a collaborative turkey dinner.
How much is a boat doctor making? Or was he like a real doctor, and then these divorces jettisoned him to the sea? So,
Oh yeah, I mean he didn't just start his medical career. Imagine
to be a
that.
boat doctor.
I'm just graduated medical school at 43. This is his first. Who knows? Who knows? He's a wild card. He explained that he divorced his ex-wife because she never asked for the price of anything and spent him into the poorhouse. It's a lot of spending if you're a doctor.
Can't wait.
And then Audrey perks up about the possibility, maybe this could lead to a divorce. She's asking the sales girl to show her the most expensive jewelry in the store.
I mean, this is a fortuitous run-in for Florence Henderson, because if there's anybody you want to consult about how to get divorced, it's Doc. Really anything. If there's anything you want to ask about anything, it's probably Doc, except probably medical things.
Medical. Yeah, just medical. Why? Was Florence Henderson considered a looker?
I mean, for Doc, right? Well,
I mean, generally,
Doc's been going young. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, in the public eye at this time, what was she?
I mean, a mom, is she a MILF at this point? Is she a TV MILF? I don't know.
She's not on the Brady Bunch. Is over.
Well, so aren't they doing the variety show?
Variety, yeah, because she loves to sing.
Right.
I don't know. I don't
know. I mean, she's the. No, she's not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's married to Shecky Green, so that doesn't. Unless that's like a King of Queens thing. Like, I don't know
who. So. Yeah, I don't really know that he hit above his batting average on that either.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know what
Florence Henderson. Here's what I'll say about Florence Henderson. She kind of always looked the same, which is pretty impressive, because the Brady Bunch started in like the late 60s.
Yeah.
And she was on TV in like the 2000s, and she kind of looked the same. So
she was on TV forever, man.
Yeah.
Like, she was always on TV. It's interesting.
Selling Crisco.
I couldn't remember the product.
I just remembered it right now. And
was
I don't
it Wesson?
know that I've ever used Crisco for anything.
Was it Wesson or was it Crisco?
Oh, maybe it was Wesson.
I don't know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. There's no way of checking
I'm pretty sure Florence Henderson pops up on this boat a lot. We can find out next time.
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so.
She's the kind of person who ends up on this thing a lot.
Well, because as long as she can sing, that's the thing. Does she come back on? Do they let her sing?
She's famous enough to like carry a storyline, but she's not busy enough to not be on the show. So.
Oh, she's got time, and she'll be back when the faces are in there's.
I mean, we're getting close. We're half a season away from Faces in the Portal. I'm very excited about that.
Exciting. Paul, meanwhile, Shecky Green gets into an elevator with a woman who's happily telling her friend she just divorced her imbecile of a husband because he got drunk to the point of dancing with a lampshade atop his head.
I am very glad that my wife was not in this elevator so many years ago when she heard, "Honey, don't ever marry a man who drinks." So that is advice that would have damned our entire friend group. So.
That would have been terrible. That would have been terrible.
Yep. We'd all be on these sad ass Christmas cruises with Walter Perry.
All of us independently, just sad. Basically, so the woman warns her friend she says, never marry a man who drinks. Paul perks up at the possible shortcut towards his own divorce and makes a beeline to the bar.
This is going to end terribly. This would be like you doing this.
Oh.
Like, where's the scene where Paul is just... See, that would have been funny.
Just super lightweight, which he is.
What's his name?
13 minutes later.
Dan Barton is throttling Walter Perry on the side of the rail of the boat, and he's about to throw him out. And here comes Paul, vomits all over him, saves everybody.
The gun slips out of his hand.
Yep.
The choir singing Christmas carols.
Yep. There's your Christmas story.
Wrapped up. And that's what I call a sticky situation. One of those. The crew is decorating the ship's Christmas tree. Captain Stubing asked Mike if he could recommend any funny jokes for him to retell.
He
This
can't.
is a terrible
That's
joke.
a bad joke.
It's a really bad joke. I wrote it down. I don't even want to say it. It's terrible.
I think you should tell it. Maybe you can
right.
tell it better.
All right. So
this is not a hot start to you telling.
So there was a something about a Martian who comes down to Earth, walks into a bar, and gets so turned on by a pinball machine with all of its flashing lights and noise that it delivers the pickup line, "Hey, sweetheart, what's a pretty girl like you doing in a place like this?"
Christmas should be canceled for that joke.
Canceled.
Father Mike, really good character and was really a smart add to this week, but that was a bomb joke. I almost feel like he was setting Stubing up.
That's not even a good clean joke. Like there's
and
like,
I don't care how funny it is in Latin. There's no way it's that much better.
No. Latin
I have a question.
I know is yes, sir.
They're decorating what appears to be like the main area by the stairwell, right?
Yeah.
Which we've kind of established is one of the main thoroughfares when you come on the boat.
Absolutely.
We've seen a lot of people come in that way. Obviously, you go up the stairs. It's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
The Christmas cruise has already set sail. If I'm on a Christmas cruise, why is the friggin' tree not up when I walk in? Why are you decorating it now? There was just a barren hallway when I come into the Christmas cruise?
It doesn't sound like much of a Christmas cruise, Mike.
No.
Because now I'm thinking about prior to this or any dinner. Again, no dinner, I don't see any. Did you see any Christmas decorations in the episode? Because now I don't.
In the very beginning, there's like a tiny Christmas tree on a desk or something like that. But it's not festoon in holiday cheer.
Well, no, because you can just dunk. It's a Christmas cruise. Look at my tiny tree on my desk.
All I'm saying is, like, you don't have to go crazy, but if you're going to bother putting the tree up, put it up on December 22nd.
Yeah, why are you waiting till you're doing the
two
noon
stars.
on the 24th?
Will not do again.
But why would the crew be decorating this?
Well, who else is going to decorate it?
You got people like the setup people, like all the people that set up for who has all the damn bales of hay, who set up the country get down. Like there's a crew that does this work.
Yes. Why would you have the doctor and the bartender putting up a tree? Why would you have the doctor and the bartender trying to solve a murder? Why would you have the doctor and the bartender trying to save a human from a dog? Like, they don't have a deep bench, it seems like.
It's a question as old as time, basically.
If anything, this is at least somewhat normal that they would try to do this.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the drug and the dog thing. That's a really good point. That's really funny.
I feel like everybody just does everything. But
everybody's a Swiss Army knife on this boat. It's
infuriating that they just don't have just a grunt that does this stuff.
Everything. Because Gopher's not even really the grunt per se. He has people under him. Remember Vince? He fell down the stairs.
Vince is not getting on a ladder right now. I'll tell you that. R.I.P. Vince's legs.
Jeez. So that's the terrible joke there. So Doc changes the subject to which wants to know who among them is going to play Santa this year. And Julie's like, "Oh, what about me?" Relax, Julie. Relax. Like, it's 1977. That's not going to fly in 77. Like, it's
just a very female forward show, but not yet.
But you can't play Santa Claus. I was selected to play Santa Claus once at a holiday party in Germany. And for everyone's kids, you come in and they have pictures with Santa because, you're in a foreign place, and we had gifts for the kids. So here I am in my Santa Claus full suit. At first, I was a little offended because I was like, did they just pick me because I'm a little chunky? Because if so, I'm going to be a little bit. But I convinced myself that's not it. Spirit of Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Got the suit on.
A little tight.
It is a little tight. Pictures being taken. I'm like, this is great. it started to people started drinking at the party, which
Sure.
that's when I leave. I'm like, all right, you guys have fun.
Rum and fruit juice.
Just fruit juice this time for me. Just fruit juice. I get, a few days go by, and this is before digital cameras, or right at the, birth of the digital camera. And my buddy goes, hey, you really got to see these Santa Claus pictures. And apparently I didn't know my pants were completely split, like right at the crotch. So you couldn't see it. Like if you could only see it in the picture, because it was such like a limited
Right.
exposed like drawers. Like it was really bad. And they
So did
decided
every
not to
kid's
keep.
picture have you with your pants split?
Yes. Yeah. As they sat on my lap as Santa Claus. So they sort of
you're
made
not
the
allowed in Germany anymore. So-
not in that neighborhood. Good Lord. It's just so they made the decision to let's just throw all these pictures away. I was like, I think that's a great idea.
oh no.
I felt terrible. I didn't know. It was a little tight.
And yet
Hmm.
you were still a better Santa Claus than Captain Stubing.
And better than Julie would have been.
I don't know.
Take that,
Julie wouldn't have split her suit.
Which again, and the captain's declaring that he owns the suit, he plays Santa Claus. And I'm thinking, where did you come from?
Does he own this suit because he bought the suit, or does he own the suit because he thinks he's the captain and therefore he owns everything?
There's no lost and found on this ship.
I bought
if you lose
that fork. Like, is he doing that? Like,
everything you lose is his on this. That's my fork. That's my dining room. Everything is his. It's my mop. Mine. Yeah. Because then I'm like, wait a minute. Where this we've defied logic again here with the character. Like, wait, what? Now you want to play Santa Claus because you don't like a gift exchange and all this blah blah blah. Like,
well, I think this is his last gasp at fitting in with the crew, I guess. But like, all you're gonna do is feel better about the kids, which is fine.
How is this fitting into the crew to be like, no, Julie? He was like, no, stupid. You can't be Santa Claus. I'll be Santa Claus. It's my friggin' suit. So like that. How is that?
He's definitely he's going off the map at this point.
Father Mike needs to give this guy another talking to or something. It's not working. That evening, Julie, Gopher, Doc, and Isaac are enjoying some very strong rum punch.
Sauced early. Again.
Oh yeah.
15 people at this party. Like, it's empty. This is not a selling. This cruise is not selling well.
No. Again, who's going on a cruise for
next year?
That's like, who goes out to dinner for Thanksgiving? It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it is empty.
Yeah, it's empty, as it should be.
Yeah.
One of Father Mike's orphans tries to scam his way by getting a glass by putting the glass around a gopher or something.
I think that's Tony.
Tony?
Yeah.
Was he okay?
Yeah.
More for Tony later. And how many orphans were there?
6. Okay. 6 orphans.
Okay. Isaac steps in to fill his glass with nothing but fruit juice. Okay, here comes my favorite scene in this whole thing. Lila asks Dan if he can put kind of his glumness aside for one night so they can have a pleasant Christmas Eve. So again, they're putting that tree up on Christmas Eve. Going back to your point, like, what do you?
Which I know there are families who do that or used to do that as tradition, but that, like, the stores had Christmas trees up,
right? Like, what do you?
You'd
probably spend a significant amount of time decorating.
Yeah,
because what are you going to put it up on noon on the 24th and take it down on noon on the 25th?
It's
okay, and we're done with Christmas,
right? Like, or do you just leave it up? Like, is it going to be? Is it going to be up on the next episode?
Next 6 months.
In the back.
That would be awesome. She gives Dan a hug, and I missed part of this. Like, somebody forgot something.
He needed a handkerchief or maybe a pocket square, something like that. So,
and she went to get it. And he was like, "Oh!" And she opened the drawer, and there's a little pistol. She's like, Dan,
not
no.
anything.
No.
Like, not under a pair of socks.
It's under a
You know,
single piece of tissue paper.
The Gideon Bible, like something.
Nothing.
Dan, come on, man.
Why would he put it in that drawer, too?
Why
Like-
would she assume she knew whatever she went back to get would be in that drawer?
Well, did he just put it in that drawer?
Do you unpack when you go away? I don't always unpack.
I unpack if I'm
I always
somewhere
worry
for more
about losing
than
stuff, so I don't automatically do it. But that said, if I had a gun and I did unpack, I would make sure the gun was underneath all the stuff.
right.
You know.
So
But
we're to
that's
believe
me.
there's a loaded gun.
Well, we don't know if it was loaded.
I mean, what's the point? I mean, bring a
Scare
hammer.
him.
Like
I
if you're
think
not
he was
going to load the
scaring him
gun,
off
bring
or
a
beating
hammer.
him with it.
I don't know. I mean, you'd think like he didn't go through all this thing, you know, to be on the cruise with this guy to just go, I'm going to give him a terrible scaring. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I mean,
he
I
was,
think he's going to scare him to jump off the boat.
now like point the gun and like now jump.
Like,
Backing up, like walking the plank. You better.
Right.
Okay. You know what? That makes sense to me. That
by the
makes
way,
sense.
Emmy for that performance right there.
That was good with the Santa hat. It's
I could have
seasonal.
been Walter Perry very easily.
Easily. It says that now she realizes that he knew that Walter Perry was going to be on board and that this cruise was all about revenge.
Which, okay, more respect for Dan at least there, because there was no logic to them. He gets out on parole a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think parole is something that you can really like count on.
Right.
So you would, which again indicates how poorly supported this Christmas cruise was. That they were able to get tickets to this thing a week out,
last minute, right?
But it's like, why would you do that? You just got out of jail, spend some time with your wife, stay home. I assume that Dan has family besides Lila that he could see at Christmas, all that stuff. The revenge thing at least covers all the questions I had about that. So I thought these guys were going to fall into our favorite category of why are these people on the cruise? At least I know why he's on there. So
maybe he like missed that first Christmas. He's in prison. He was like, no, Lila, I promise you, once I get out of this terrible predicament, we're going to go on the most amazing Christmas cruise you've ever seen. It's a short 4-day cruise, but it's a Christmas cruise and it's magical.
It's us, 6 kids, a minister,
great,
and a couple that has long pauses where they seem to be thinking in their own minds before they talk.
Yeah,
So,
and look for a guy
love
named Shecky Green, but he's not going to look like his name is Shecky Green.
Right.
Attempting to, there's a lot of unpacking that has to happen here. He grumbles that it's his business whether or not he shoots Walter. Lila reminds him, Lila reminds him that his 3-year incarceration also affected her. And basically was saying, don't take the gun from the cabin. And that if he kills his ex-friend, their marriage is over. I'm thinking.
But she didn't really say that.
I mean, she sort of implied.
No, I get it.
Like,
and then he was not like even okay.
Yeah, he didn't.
He
He wasn't like, okay, I won't kill him.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't even like.
He didn't
At
answer.
least give your wife a okay. You're right. I won't kill him, and
or even just a, you know what I mean, or a cute like wink. You know, something. There's nothing there.
Hey, Dan Barton's a lot of things. He's not a liar. He didn't lie to his wife. Good for him.
He didn't lie. He's just, framed
just
as
a murderer and embezzler.
That's fine. A drunken Paul, Shaky Green, asked Isaac to give him more booze. I thought this was funny when Isaac said, I thought I heard you refer to yourself as a teetotaler. And Shaky says that he must have been drunk when he said that. I don't know. It just made me laugh a little bit.
This was it was like 30 seconds. This was the best part of this.
Well, because they were talking.
Yeah. Isaac, I guess you can overserve on a boat because you're not driving.
Where are you going?
Again, those guardrails are not that high. He is clearly wasted, and he is being served another gigantic bottle of booze. So
apparently, people didn't die of alcohol poisoning in the 70s.
But what about
Maybe.
walking in the propeller or something? Like, I mean, he's mad. This guy doesn't drink.
Well, I mean, there is like, such a thing as like alcohol poisoning, and maybe that's Doc's specialty. I specialize in treating alcohol poisoning or something. It is weird. I wonder what the rule is. Because obviously, I mean, I haven't been on a cruise, but I went to Jamaica. And when I say the parallels, you had like it was all inclusive. So you just, I drank my weight in pina coladas, and they never cut you off, ever. I mean, not that I was stumbling drunk or anything, but
well, that's
like
the
it
thing,
wasn't
though.
even a thing.
That's what I'm saying. He is objectively showing drunk, probably
Intentionally,
without thinking about it, the drunkest
right?
we've seen anybody, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
Like, and Isaac doesn't even do
Let me get
the. You
2
sure?
craps.
Sure, you haven't had too
Let me
much.
get you a cup of coffee, like one of
Right.
those kind of things.
Yeah, didn't even do that. So now, granted,
No.
he may not have drank a lot because he's not a drinker, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's still where. Yeah, he's arrived at a terrible destination.
Yeah,
He's in over his head. Audrey, Florence Henderson rushes over and is like, what is going on? She hands him a stack of receipts for the jewelry she purchased. Paul's just sort of squints at him. Audrey gleefully asks him if there's something he'd like to ask her. Perhaps it starts with a D. And he slurs, "Do you want to dance?" I don't know. It maybe again.
no, I agree.
Let them talk. There's something there. Like
Now, once they get up on the dance floor, that's pretty much it. But it was a good couple minutes.
It was a good couple minutes. What's the point of getting guest stars and be like, let's not have these guys talk. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
They were dancing on the dance floor. All right. So Dan ambles over to the punch bowl to get a refill when he hears Walter Perry talking to someone how he once had a law partner who stole all of his money and went to prison.
Now, if you're Walter Perry,
what a jerk.
You have committed a crime and you have gotten away with it.
He's an international water.
There is one person, maybe, in the world that knows that you're guilty of this.
And he's on the damn boat.
Seen him.
And his wife.
He is on the boat, which we have established has 20 people on it this week.
Small cruise.
Don't tell that story. Don't tell it.
Just blah, 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 blah.
Right. Like,
go get another haircut.
Chips, Walter Perry.
Yeah, no kidding. Snitches get, go get another haircut. By the way, he never got a haircut. His hair looked exactly the same.
By the way, in this scene, who Walter Perry's blabbing to, shout out to our former guest, Jamie, who appears in that scene.
That's really, really funny. Shout out Jamie Callahan. All right. Wow.
He really should have brought that up that he was on the show.
I wish he would have told us. Next time. Oh, that's awesome. That's really funny. So Dan is sort of twitching with his rage. Walter,
which can't blame him. I mean, honestly, not blame him. I would be so infuriated. Not only that you did this, but that you are so stupid. I've been felled by a stupid person.
Well, I'd almost think like he's just ballsy because it's just that stupid. Like it's not plausible that he could be that dumb.
Do you think he's drunk? Because that punch is pretty strong. Do you think maybe he's drunk?
Oh, I think everyone's a little drunk.
So I wonder if that's part of it.
Loose lips.
Because they needed, although it's not like he said, and you know what? It was really me. Like he didn't say that. So,
but you figure if he's on a cruise by himself, what is the likelihood that that's the sort of conversation you're going to have with strangers on a Christmas cruise on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, right.
What? What?
Yo, Marley.
I just want to know what was the sentence? What was the sentence prior to that? Like, how did you? What? So odd. So odd. A few seconds later, Dan looks like he's on a mission. He's like trailing after him.
Yeah.
Which again, then we just.
So did he run back to the room and get the gun, or did he have it with him?
I thought he legit left that thing in the room.
I mean, they didn't show it.
He was just like, screw you, lady. Screw you, wife. I'll do what I want.
He's got on the table.
Or that's his backup weapon. You know, he had his little one in his ankle or something. Yeah, little burner or whatever. How many orphans are there, Mike? 6. Right. I just know Captain Stubing. If you bought 6, Stubing makes his grand entrance as Santa Claus.
As the captain, don't you have to do math for like latitude and longitude so you don't sink the boat?
That's a
but
computer.
You couldn't do 6 kids, 5 gifts.
Like he can only count on one hand. If it's anything more than one hand, I don't know how to do that.
The first rule of Santa is don't split your pants when kids are going to sit on your lap. The second rule is have enough gifts for all the kids present.
Yes.
Everyone knows this.
It's only 6. It's not a tricky number like 13.
The baker's dozen is Santa's worst nightmare.
That's the worst nightmare. How many? There's a dozen?
No.
A baker's dozen. 6. 2 3s. 3 2s. A 5 and a 1. Oh.
And where do these gifts? So are these all from the gift shop?
They just appear?
Are they from the gift shop?
They had to be.
Because Julie was really hitting the gift shop early in that episode. So
I mean, where else would they? There's no other means of. Wait,
unless they bought him ahead. But
well, why wouldn't he buy him ahead if he bought these kids, mystery tickets or whatever he arranged for them to be on the ship?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think on a Christmas cruise he would give him at least one present if he's doing all this other nonsense at the end?
You would think so.
It doesn't make any sense. Hey, how about Father Mike?
Father Mike bringing these gifts.
Yeah.
Like,
what? You didn't bring anything. I don't even think Father Mike brought a change of clothes on this thing.
Well, here's the thing. Like, as a child, now these are orphans, so maybe they have a better sense of the whole deal with Santa. But as a child, right? It's all presents in the morning. Santa does the whole Christmas. Like, so if you now they don't actually think he's Santa, I guess, but like, are they waking up to gifts the next day? They're not getting the ultimate gift, as you pointed out, which is home.
Anything else is a strikeout. Yeah. I mean, unless they sort of like sell the idea to these kids on this cruise that like, look, Santa's gonna board this ship like Greenpeace sometime while you're asleep between 1 and 2 a.m. and drop off some gifts. But no, you can't say that because Father Mike didn't bring any damn gifts.
Yeah.
And he was just like, Father Mike did nothing on this. No. Nothing. He had bad
Father
jokes.
Mike is just happy to get a few days of R&R. This is like when you go to like a pool in the summer, like a public pool.
Yeah.
There's always that parent who's not watching their kids. And I think the assumption is just everybody's watching the kids. Like, so it's almost like that. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Father Mike's like, I'm on duty.
Yeah.
I'm
clearly a minister, as you can see.
Look at my shirt.
Yep.
Look at my cool white. He starts handing out gifts to the orphans, but he runs out when he gets to the last kid, Tony, because Captain Stubing cannot count to 6.
Now, if Stubing was quicker on his feet, he would have told Tony that Santa saw him trying to steal alcohol and he's on the naughty list.
Turn it into a life lesson.
Yep.
Santa doesn't make a mistake, Tony. Just like you don't have parents. You think that's a mistake? I mean, Stubing could break it down. I'm Santa. How come you never hear about Santa's parents? You don't hear about Santa's parents, do you?
That's true, actually. I actually don't even know
he
how
was an orphan.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying.
And he got it. He got the greatest gift of all. A home.
What?
A home.
He did. Santa did.
Yeah.
And now he breaks into millions of them.
The ultimate revenge for an orphan.
Ultimate revenge.
Going into a bunch of homes.
Oh, it's funny. That is funny.
It's like when you're a kid and you smoke a cigarette and your parents make you smoke a whole carton. That's what it is for Santa.
That's what I'm saying. It's just oversaturation. Just more and more and more. That's how you learn your lesson. Repetition.
This really does have to be like a real kick in the nuts, though. For like, you're already an orphan. It's Christmas. You're on this dumb cruise with a bunch of olds, and then Santa forgot your gift. Like, good for you, Tony, to run away.
Yeah. Well, You're not really running away if you're on a cruise ship, are you? Where are you going? You're going on the cruise ship. Like, where are you going to
So I
go?
was wondering this. So like, didn't Annie escape in a laundry basket?
I don't know.
You never saw Annie?
I've never seen Annie. I know that Carol Burnett was in it.
Annie's great.
Is it? I've never seen it. No.
Yeah, maybe we should do an offshoot of an Annie watch
Sounds good. Watch
because
along.
Carol Burnett's in it, and she's
Love Carol
obviously been
Burnett.
a big topic. Nobody else that we've had, although I think Bernadette Peters is in it
I was
actually.
just going to ask that.
Yeah. So I think Annie or the dog, or Annie escapes and gets the dog, but I think there's a laundry basket escape in there. So anyway, point is, if Annie can get out of an orphanage past a drunk Miss Hannigan, Tony should be able to at least buy himself a couple days.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, as we know, I mean, maybe Tony finds the red wig and clothes left by, the ghost of John Ritter's cross-dressing character. So they're just looking. What were the gifts that he gave? That's what I was stuck on that question. I don't remember. It was like
I don't
trucks.
think they opened them. I think the one kid, Tony, wanted a football, but I think that was the only even specific thing mentioned.
I'd be like, hey, Tony, why do you want a football? Who do you think's going to throw that football with you, Tony? A football's not something you can throw against a wall and catch.
Maybe maybe he grows up to be a Tony Franklin, like he's a place kicker because he got that football, and that's the only thing he can do.
No one to throw them. He went on to be a very famous designated hitter. He can't play the.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Poor Tony the orphan. Tony reacts to, Santa not having. He said, Santa is one present short. Terrible. My note is he can't count to 6, which is just the running theme. Like, how do you not count to 6? He's going to have to race back to the North Pole to retrieve something. You mean the gift shop? And by the way, does the gift shop only have 5 things you can buy?
He comes back. Here you go, Tony, and it's all those copies of that porno magazine.
That's what I'm saying. They had more copies of the magazine. They did toys to buy.
Well, Florence Henderson bought everything.
Everything expensive.
What if Tony got Oriental Wind?
Big old bottle of it. That's fantastic. Oh man. Tony is tearing up and races off, and Father Mike goes after him. And the crew says sympathetically, poor Captain Stubing.
Yeah, no. This kid is missing.
How about Tony? How about the Tony with no family? Who wants a football with no one to throw it to him? It just gets worse. Don't worry about Captain Stubing. He'll be fine. That's funny.
Poor doddering old man that drives our giant boat that our death.
You'd think numbers would be significant in this man's occupation.
Maybe that's an old nautical thing. You just skip 6. It's 3, 4, 5, 7, 9.
So. It's that thing. It's the old. We don't count by 6. 35, right. 37.
It's like a hotel and has no 13th floor.
That's a good point. On the deck, Dan draws his gun on Walter. And Walter's just kind of like, don't shoot me.
I really wish he would have been like, hello, my name is Dan Barton. You frame me for embezzlement. Prepare to die.
No kidding.
I think this would have been, he needed this is why you're not James Bond. There was no catchy, embezzle
flip
this.
A coin, or flip a coin.
Anything. He's got no gimmicks at all.
He needs way more gimmicks than this. Yeah. Not only did you lose out to Sean Connery with your no gimmick having self, then you lost out to Roger Moore too. So that says it all.
It's really 2 completely different Bonds. That they didn't want you twice. That's not we got a different Connery. No,
And basically they picked Roger Moore because he had an English accent.
So, what is bad news for Walter Perry
guy.
in this
Bad
is
news.
this deck is empty. There is no one on this deck.
Not a soul.
At all.
Well.
Yeah. Except a very quiet Donna Mills, who is just going to let this all play out, I guess.
She's going to hide in the shadows like that plumber poet, just watching things go down. A bunch of weird stuff lurking in shadows.
Thing, Donna.
Why wouldn't she say, "Hey,
Dan,
don't kill
shoot
him"?
Dan, don't shoot that guy.
Hey, remember the conversation we had earlier about saying you weren't going to kill him?
Yeah.
Are we still good with that outcome of that conversation?
Yeah.
Or are you about to? Nothing. Yeah. As a worried Lila eavesdrops, if you're that worried, you should probably move on from eavesdropping, right? Then you're not really worried.
If Dan kills Walter Perry and gets away with it, I feel like he's not somebody who kind of can just push stuff to the side. Like he has not bounced back from this embezzlement thing very well.
No,
so
I agree.
He might not be a fun husband.
No, I don't think he's a bundle of joy to be around because God knows what happened to this man in prison to turn him into this monster. I don't even know you anymore, Dan.
I mean, it's white collar 70s prison, Dan. You probably were living fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
And your wife waited for you, so good for you.
Yeah. And your wife's Donna Mills, and she waited for you.
Let's look at the positives here, Dan. Come on.
And you're on a Christmas cruise.
Strike 5.
Strike 5.
What if he had shot Tony when he was running away? Like by accident. There was a struggle.
I mean, that would have been.
I just wanted a football.
Oh, poor Tony. Tony gets nothing.
All right, beat Tony.
Oh, jeez. Well, he wouldn't have to worry about not having someone to play football with anymore. Terrible gift idea, buddy. You know what? Maybe we get you a pitch back this year. How about that? Christmas episode, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas episode.
Anyway, he doesn't. He looks like he's winding up to shoot.
Yeah.
Walter Perry, and then all of a sudden, the middle of the second stanza of Silent Night seeps through the wall. I guess somebody like left the door open to get a cigarette.
The trade wind shifted, and we could hear. Yeah.
And the power of Christmas compels Dan to not shoot Walter Perry. But does he even say anything? He just like doesn't shoot him.
He like doesn't shoot him, and then he just kind of like Walter Perry just sort of like runs off.
Right, and then Donna Mills comes down. So there's not even like again.
Well, no. No, he did. He threw his gun overboard and then said "Merry Christmas."
Oh, I missed that he threw his gun overboard.
Threw his gun overboard and said "Merry Christmas," and then Lila rushed down the staircase and gave him a hug.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, it wasn't good. You didn't miss much on that one. Santa. Oh, we found Tony. Tony was hiding in a shower by the pool area. And he says, "Go away, you blew it."
True.
I mean,
you must be loving this because Stubing is getting called on his crap every week now.
He should. His dad, like it's just.
Yeah. He had like 5 episodes where people respected him, and now it's like automatically the cook last week. This is 3 in a row.
That's true. Maybe the cook was on to something.
Yeah.
Santa Stubing admits that he blew it, and he tries to fix his screw up by pulling out the most ridiculous thing to give this kid. This is it. That's all you got. How about, you know what? I got one. How about a telescope?
What?
How about a telescope?
What is
I don't even know what it is.
What is a kid? Any kid, home, not home. What is a kid going to do with an instrument that has been designed to help navigate a ship? What are you going to do with that as a child?
He's like, well, maybe if you have a miniature ship that you navigate in the orphanage.
And Stubing says that his dad gave it to him, and his grandfather gave it to his dad or whatever. It's like, so that thing is made of like just asbestos and
lead
paint.
Mercury.
This kid should not have this. There's like polio in that thing. Like that kid should not be anywhere near this thing.
Awful. So
awful.
That's the best.
Give him. You know what?
Give him a captain's hat.
Give him money.
Something.
anything. The
Just
short jacket. That's what he should have given him, was a short jacket.
Just
Tony's wearing a
something.
blazer. He's clearly a jacket man.
It's just, I'm just looking at it, and then they go, well, then, Tony mulls it over, decides that it's pretty cool.
No, it's not.
No, he
Tony's
didn't.
Tony's
No, he
incredibly polite. Good job,
To-
Father Mike.
Look,
Honestly, those kids were well behaved.
Tony
except
wants
for
a
trying to steal
family.
booze.
Tony wants a family so bad. He's willing to pretty much accept anything. You could have given him a cup of water, and he would have been like, "Oh, thank you, sir. May I have another?" Tony's in a bad spot. Maybe we should.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony shouldn't be the litmus on Christmas success, because again, the captain couldn't count a damn 6. It's so ridiculous. Ugh, it's awful.
In the explaining of the gift, which, much like jokes, the best gifts are the ones you have to explain.
Absolutely. Whoa.
Stubing mentions that he was in World War II.
I did hear that.
Now, Gavin MacLeod is 47 years old at the time of this episode.
It's impossible.
Which would have made him 15 years old at the very end of World War II. So even if he got in there, at the very end, he's 15, which I'm pretty sure was not what we were doing at that point.
Yeah, but what side did he fight for?
Oh, wow. Wow. Traitor to the country?
I don't know.
Meryl Stubing?
I don't know. They had the Hitler Youth and all this other stuff, 15. I'm just thinking, how can he plausibly?
There's no way that Stubby, his father, would allow such tyranny.
Good point. Yeah, that's just crazy.
But that said, maybe he was fighting in World War II because his dad stuck him on the boat.
Oh, his dad didn't have a sitter, so he just had to bring him with him on the World War II boat.
To the fronts.
Bring your son to work, war.
So, yeah, they have not established anybody's actual age in the show, like the character's age.
No.
So we're always working off of what the real life age is, which is not necessarily true. And Gavin MacLeod, if we didn't know he was 47, we probably would have said he was 57. Probably,
it's
right?
It's the hair. Yeah. You don't know.
If you're 57, then you're 25 in the war. That makes sense. So,
yeah, they're loosey goosey with these numbers, especially you'll see it with Doc, with the women he's with. You're like, how? This doesn't make any sense.
But
you know
Doc's
what I mean?
She's 44 or something.
They just age looked different then.
Age did look different. No,
it's
just
different.
It did. And it's not even except for being bald, Gavin MacLeod, if his hair was darker and he had a toupee, if he doesn't look facially old.
He would look, with some hair dye, I think he would look.
You'd think he was 47.
You'd think he was 47. Yeah. Exactly.
He looks younger than Walter Perry.
He definitely looks younger than Walter Perry. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Interesting. Audrey tells Paul that after the cruise, she plans to blow a whole lot of cash on a new furniture set for the living room. He's saying, "I see your furniture set and raise you a clown suit," and it just keeps going. Audrey's chuckling that lately she finds him delightfully hilarious. And I just said, this has been a complete waste of time, this storyline.
They never gave us any reason why they were fighting in the first place.
Nope.
And then they solve it by him being drunk.
Right.
That's the only reason they're getting along, is because he's drunk.
Well, there's a moral there, right?
Well,
marital problems, have a drink.
So, for instance, my wife always, I think it's a joke, says I'm better 3 drinks in because it cuts down on your anxiety and things like that or whatever.
Sure.
Fair. But we're not fighting for divorce unless I have 3 drinks. They are going to have to suds him up every day to survive in this marriage. And all of a sudden all your problems are solved. Even if it wasn't drunk, all your problems are solved in an hour. Outrageous. Horrible storyline. Just
unrealistic
in every way.
best. Just not. And I just don't. I think it's just a poor use of both individuals. Maybe it is for Shecky Green. I don't know, but at least, and of course, that's singing. Stubing returns to his office where his crew has been waiting to surprise him with a Merry Christmas. He stares him in shock. Like, what are you doing in my office? They explain they were feeling sorry for themselves, having to work. And then they realize that they have two families. And this is where it's just
yeah.
And that is Captain, he's the head of of that Love Boat family. Stubing's all choked up. They're proud to have him on his crew. Prouder to count them as friends. He breaks the no present exchange rule.
Who's probably mad about all this is like the deputy captain from a couple weeks ago.
Oh, Mr. Whelan?
Or the chef, or literally anybody else on the staff of this boat is not family, is not getting gifts. Like
what a clique.
This couldn't be done in the ballroom, so you could at least pretend there were other people there. But I guess it couldn't be done in the ballroom because upstairs, downstairs.
It's so crazy. Like, they sometimes that phrase is thrown around at work. Like, we don't want to work in silos.
Yeah.
But this silo is very limited to very few crew members. It's odd to be like, Merry Christmas to you select members.
The whole work family thing, it just made me think that the Princess Cruise Line definitely made people come back to the office pretty quick after the pandemic. Like that's the kind of talking point stuff that's like, oh, we're a family and we miss you. Please come back, and
we just want to be together again.
Fill out all these clipboards of people's room number assignments. So
that's funny. Here we are, Florence Henderson working a song into things with her talking weird song voice. She sings a Christmas carol. Passengers arriving for a big turkey dinner. Walter intercepts Dan entering the dining room. And this is what?
Yeah.
Hey, how about don't believe Walter? How about that? He's got no credibility because he's sent you to prison.
So he's lying, right?
Of course he's lying. Oh, and I'm going to ensure that you get your law license back. No, you're not. Based on what? Like, you're just saying that because you're like, oh man, I better say something in case he has a gun that he didn't throw overboard.
The second gun, yeah. See, right. This made even less sense now that I realized that he threw the gun away.
Yeah.
But if you're Walter, you just gotta get off the boat, right?
Just get off the boat. I'm not going to dinner. Boat, right? I'm laying low.
Yeah, I'm in my room like Donald Flanders the rest of the week.
That's not
coming out.
I'm not coming out. Doc tells Father Mike that a bunch of stuff was collected for the orphanage, and when Gopher asks where they should send it, Tony suggests they just give it to Captain Stubing since he visits the orphanage every month to say hey to all the kids and to do fun stuff like take them to ball games. And Julie,
they're angel games though. Stubing's not popping for Dodger tickets.
No, that's a double A at best. Like you better forget about really? That's double A ball. Yeah, like you're not
even going to the majors.
No.
He's going to see Albuquerque.
That's some JUCO. Yeah, go see the Isotopes. Go see Southern Santa Clara State Community College play their games. Julie realizes, I don't know how she realized this, Captain Stubing must be the mysterious donor that finances the orphans' cruise tickets. And I wrote, that is quite a leap, Julie. That's quite a leap.
But she was right.
She was right.
So this was different than the Gomer Pyle is the jewel thief reveal at the end, in that I definitely was surprised. But I was surprised because I had given it zero thought.
Same. It was a throwaway.
I just hadn't even thought about it.
Long-term.
Now, they didn't really like pop on it, but it clearly was supposed to be
just planning.
Yeah, but it was like it didn't even occur to me to think about that. Even as it was happening, I didn't think about it.
I thought it was nothing more than a setup for his line to like really drive the Scrooge point of view home.
Yeah.
Next day, Lila and Dan thank Gopher for a great cruise, and Dan declares acting. By the way,
this is awful. This is why he didn't get James Bond.
first day of the rest of his life. Like, ew.
Dan does not have range. This is why he was brooding for most of the episode, is because he can't do happy at all.
Dan is good at one thing, and that's distributing douche chills to everyone around him. Just this, awful. No wonder somebody set him up. Dan sucks. He's terrible.
That's the thing about Walter Perry. Like, who
Maybe
the hell is
right.
going to believe Dan against you? He's a convict, and he can't string two sentences together without like just scaring off everybody.
like, look at him. I'm going to say something to make him angry, and watch what happens. His whole body starts twitching. Like he's just the worst.
Your Honor, he's got 3 guns on his person in this courtroom.
And he's 00 nothing too. Just don't forget that, Your Honor. 0 for 2.
The ambassador to Mexico, though. Good for the actor.
Yeah, good for him. Martin. Oh, and the other thing too, he came from a very well-to-do family. Like he did not struggle growing up. Like he sort of like stumbled into the acting.
We're making generalities, but I think it's fair to say he's not a good actor. I wonder if
look at he doesn't have to be.
I wonder if him being the SAG president and having connections got him this role.
Well, I think the SAG. Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, what I mean? Like it's like,
he's been in some big movies though.
He's not good. He's not good in this.
No, he's not good in this. I just want to pull up his name again real quick because I want to see. There were some other movies he was in that are huge. I didn't even add it. But I think it's important to the context here. John Gavin, which is a weird second name. Listen to the movies this guy he's in. Okay. Spartacus.
Wow.
Psycho. Well, those are the 2 big ones. I think I oversold that.
Love Boat.
But I mean, he's had quite the career.
Well,
but I see what you're saying. So Charlton Heston was the SAG president before him, and the SAG president after him was Dennis Weaver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if Dennis Weaver will show up on this boat.
Oh, I hope so. I hope he's riding a horse, too. It'd be awesome.
Will there be a horse on the boat at some point?
Oh.
Because we've had a dog, and that's it so far, right?
We had a boy dog that had puppies.
Right.
Yes.
And I think I saw in a future episode this season we have a chimpanzee. That might be coming up soon.
I wonder if you get like a Benji appearance. Benji was huge in the 70s.
Just see a portal with Benji. It's like that's all I want to see.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Oh, all right. Audrey and Paul have decided they now love each other, love all the things they once hated about each other, and no longer want to be divorced. And she's singing her way out, like goodbye. Goodbye. Please don't come back.
Question.
Yeah.
Worst storyline we've had so far? Like in terms of least to offer?
It might be.
The prank one was pretty bad.
I think this is worse than the prank one.
I think it is. I'd have to look at all of them lined up, but it's I'm not counting the Sandy Duncan one as bad. That's just misplaced.
I do think this is the worst. I think this is the worst storyline they've ever had on the show. 11.
Because even like the other ones that kind of are comparable, like the George Jefferson stuck in the elevator.
But at least there was points that were either funny or something.
Yeah, this is pretty bad.
Were we supposed to laugh at their inner monologue? Was that the intention? Because the laugh track didn't go off.
No, it was not funny.
So it was like this weird, serious, very strange. 6 orphans give Captain Stubing a bottle of champagne. The crew wonders, like, how did you get your hands on a bottle of alcohol? And one of the boys says, where there's a will, there's a way. I don't know why I wrote that down. While 2 other boys, the patented Little Rascals disguise, one atop another shoulder with a long coat. Apples off the ship. Very strange ending to the show.
Love it. Well,
Like
it
they're
was
just
very, like
out.
you said, Little Rascals. It was very orphan hat tip to the old trench coat bit.
Just
I guess. I
no.
don't know. I mean, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but
That's the episode.
yeah. Weird ending.
No, you feel like empty. Like nothing settled really. Like
No,
Captain
nothing
Stubing
happened.
still can't count. Nothing happened. They're still not getting divorced. This guy's still not killing this other guy. Like what's really changed there? Nothing.
And I mean, look, Dan Barton is still not rehabilitated. Like even
Oh God, no.
even if he feels like he's won the day, he still has to go prove his innocence in a court of law. He has to get his license renewed. I don't know.
Maybe he does.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? If Walter Perry's on the first boat to Mazatlan, you're never going to find him.
Yeah, it's not looking
You
good.
You should have shot him, Dan.
You should have shot him. Yeah, you already have friends in prison, so it's not like you don't know what you're doing. You probably know how to play some card game or something. You'll be all right. Quite an episode.
Yeah, I guess it is. So totals in a recap. King of the Mountain. I mean, no, this is not the best episode. This is
there's no mountain.
Possibly the worst episode. Again, we're getting to the point where we've had too many, so it's hard to know off the top of my head.
It's in the running. I'd say it's in the running.
We always kind of have the shorthand of the best episodes would have all three storylines hit, and the worst episodes obviously would have one or none.
Did any of these hit for you?
Half of the Silent Night, but not even all of it. Like, I don't think any of these are good. They're really not. There's some good performances in the different storylines, but the actual storylines kind of stink.
And honestly, I prefer My Love Boat without murder storylines. Like, I didn't like that. I didn't think it belonged on the show. It really bothered me. I just thought, like, there's so many detective shows on TV, and this and then that. Really, like, we got to go here. It's called The Love Boat. That storyline had nothing to do with. He didn't decide to not kill Walter because of his wife. Because his wife said to leave the gun. She said all this. The reason he didn't is because he heard some kids singing Christmas carols.
Yeah.
So it's not like the hero move.
The whole storyline kind of ends up being built around him not murdering somebody because of Christmas carols, which is a weird storyline.
Well, and think about those Christmas carols were only with 5 people because Tony was crying somewhere. So it just shows you how powerful 5 people singing a Christmas carol is.
Did you notice when the Christmas carol ends and then they're just like, okay, thanks everybody. Like that party wrapped up fast.
Yeah. Who ends carols abruptly on a Christmas cruise?
Yeah. Yeah. That should be all night.
Oh, now, also, why was the captain cutting his turkey? Did you see that?
No.
So the Christmas dinner's coming out, right? There's a big turkey on the captain's table.
Right.
And he gets up and he's like, I'm going to carve the turkey. And then it just moved on to another scene. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Because he's the father. He's the father of the boat.
This dude didn't want the help sitting at his table. This dude is not.
No, that's why he's got to cut his. That's why he's got to cut his own turkey. All the staff's downstairs.
Oh, that's true. I just think it's not a task befitting a man with a short jacket on, be carving a turkey. But
he's lucky they didn't throw him off the boat. He had a rough 4 days or whatever.
So if you have if you got to pick a king, who?
So Captain of the Week. So Captain of the Week, I went with Father Mike. I thought he was actually pretty good. I thought it was a good performance. He puts up with Stubing, but Stubing is his money man, so he kind of has to. But he doesn't give him like a free pass. So I'm gonna go with Father Mike, which was actually I thought a pretty bad role, but a good performance by Dick Sargent. So I'll give it to him.
Fair enough. Yeah, I thought for me, gosh, that is tough. Gosh, that's tough. I mean, really, I'm going to give it to Isaac for not like decking Captain Stubing for talking to him like that. Jeez, if I have to give it to somebody, it's
Yeah, that's
Isaac
it's
Verkeven
tough.
is cool.
Like I don't even have a second person written down like I usually do.
I didn't have
Because
a
even
first.
Tony, like Tony should have kicked Stubing in the nuts.
Well, Tony's got bigger fish to fry. Like, your bigger problems are on the mainland, son. I mean, Tony. I can't. Don't let me call you son.
All right.
Poor kid.
Walk the plank.
All three of these storylines,
Seriously.
just goodbye. Can we wipe the slate clean and do?
Yeah.
I'm giving it better for a Christmas
to the
episode.
Baineses. Just that whole thing was awful. But
yeah, I would say
I
that's
think
the worst.
Yeah, this is the worst. This is the worst episode. I don't even know what would be the second worst episode.
I'm gonna go. I don't think I've had this level of disdain. And I love holiday themed episodes. So I think it's even worse because you could have done a Christmas Miracle, you could have done whatever, but this is just
the more I think about it, the
cool.
more disappointing it is. That I'll give them an excuse because obviously this was kind of a short on plot, short on characters, blah blah blah. But you're right, like a Christmas one should be easy. That should be an easy episode to make.
It's an easy one. Well, how many more seasons is it on? Is the show on?
9 more.
This is one.
It's 10 seasons. So so in theory, we could have 10 Christmas episodes, right?
So we got not potentially 9 more Christmas episodes to right the ship.
And you have that's the other thing I think that's annoying too is you have 3 shots at a Christmas story in these episodes, and the murder one has nothing to do with Christmas, and the Florence Henderson one has nothing to do with Christmas. They drop in like a little bit to make it about Christmas, but it's not.
I bet you this episode something squirrely with the way this is shot. Like I wonder if that Christmas, I don't know, something's weird. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like why wouldn't all 3 be somewhat Christmas related? Because you're on a Christmas cruise. Yeah. But
it's a terrible episode. Worse. The more I think about it, the more it's not even close. It's by far the worst episode we've watched so far.
There's zero doubt in my mind that there's a episode so far worse than this episode. I didn't even enjoy watching it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't have my normal.
No. I'll be curious. We should probably just keep a little note about this being the worst episode to see if something's worse than this too.
It's not going to be an easy task.
No. Anyway, that's totals and a recap for this Christmas week.
Plugs. Email us. theloveboatproject@gmail.com. Come visit us on Facebook at The Love Boat Project. On Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. I'm going to keep saying Twitter because I don't know what that is anymore.
We're not. Yeah, it's Twitter. Yeah.
It's Twitter. At Love Boat Project. And I just want to take a second. We are on Instagram. Love Boat Project on Instagram. Great content on there. My co-host has been nailing it, putting up awesome reels and cool stuff to check out. So if you can't wait for our new episode every other Monday, check out Instagram for reels and additional content.
Check it out for reels.
Ooh.
That's what people say.
Ooh, that should have been it right there. Yeah. That's our sign off. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 11. Big episode coming up next. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
God bless us, everyone.